Feel the power. Horatio VEXLEY spent the first night in the hut on full alert. No sound seemed too small, no shadow innocent. Every creak of the beams made him sit bolt upright. Every rustle in the undergrowth outside the rotting door sent his eyes snapping to the table where the soul catcher lay. The device rested there like some strange beast, its glass chamber at the rear glowing with a restless bluish light, as though a second heart beat inside it. Lucian's essence filled the chamber almost to overflowing. The glow was thick, shot through with dark veins, and at moments VEXLEY felt the glass was on the point of shattering. A low vibration emanated from the weapon, as though the captive soul were pushing against its prison, unwilling to be confined in such narrow limits. Sleep did not come. Whenever his eyes closed, he was back in the ring, the roaring orchestra, the screams of the crowd, the instant the needle pierced Lucian's neck. It was not triumph, he remembered, but a dull, irrevocable certainty. A line had been crossed that could never be taken back. When the first pale light of morning seeped through the grimy panes, he rose, stiff and shivering. Cold had eaten into the walls. His breath hung in the room as fine mist. At the hearth, he coaxed the previous night's embers back to life, fed them dry wood, and watched hesitant flames drive the shadows back. The next hours, he spent restoring a semblance of order. He swept out dust and filth, boarded up a broken window with planks and torn cloth, hauled water from the nearby stream, its icy clarity numbing his fingers. Each ordinary task was a quiet proof that he could still act, that his will was not yet wholly broken. Yet no matter how he buried himself in labor, his gaze kept returning to the soul catcher. The glass was now so full that the light inside pooled in slow, heavy waves, as though it had nowhere left to go. Once he laid his hand gently on the container and felt a faint, unmistakable throb, an alien pulse. If the essence kept raging like this, it would either shatter the vessel or wreck the mechanism. There had to be another way to store it. Something organic, more resilient, more yielding than brittle glass and metal. In the days that followed, he began to explore the forest around the hut. It was ancient and deep, a tangle of oak, beech, and hazel whose roots clawed the earth like gnarled fingers. Between moss and wet leaves lay life no one ever saw. Beneath the roots of a mighty oak, he found them, knobbly dark brown tubers buried like secrets in the soil, burgundy truffles, tuber uncinnatum. He had read of them, of their dense flesh, their ability to absorb scents and moisture from the surroundings and lock them away inside. Their surface was rough and irregular, but the tissue beneath was astonishingly cohesive, a natural vessel created to receive and hold what was foreign. As he dug the tubers from the damp earth, a plan took shape. If glass threatened to fail beneath Lucian's power, could this strange growth bear what rigid material could not? Back in the hut, he set to work with clinical precision. The truffles went into simple jars, scavenged from the remnants of old crockery. He switched the soul catcher to injection mode. The gear clicked. The needle filled with a gossamer veil of the bluish mist that had crowded the chamber. With a surgeon's care, he pierced the firm flesh of the tubers. The reaction was instant. At first nothing seemed to happen. Then the truffle swelled as though drawing breath. A faint greenish glow seeped through the rough skin, flickered and settled, as if the tissue had accepted the essence and spread it evenly. VEXLEY watched, entranced, as the light in the soul-catcher's glass slowly ebbed while the truffles began to pulse with quiet dignity. The rough shelf he had hammered together from old boards gradually filled with these living stores, a grotesque larder of breathing stone. The essence had not vanished. It was simply distributed through tissue that could contain it without rupturing. The weapon's chamber was relieved. But with every truffle that filled, temptation grew. Lucien's essence was not merely dangerous. It was intoxicating. Within it lay knowledge, memories, an entire lifetime of dominion over people and mechanisms. The scientific part of VEXLEY's mind whispered without cease that it was his duty to discover what transferring such power into a prepared body might mean. A deeper instinct warned him. Yet that voice had been silenced often enough during the carnival years. For days, he wrestled with himself. At night, he lay beneath the cracked roof, listening to rain hammer through the gaps, the crackle of the fire, the distant murmur of the forest. In the spaces between came murmurs, fragments of commands, laughter, cutting remarks. Lucian would not let him rest. At last, on an evening when rain fell in thick curtains and wind shook the hut, Horatio gave in.